Hello, everybody. Welcome to Thursday. The S&P 500 was down almost 1.7% today. Unfortunately, I have to wear the red shirt today. I had a green shirt on not too long ago. And I haven't worn those colors for quite a while. It kind of tells you that there has been volatility. We've certainly seen that, but it's been in a tight range, because this is a 1.5% plus or minus, depends on, what color I'm wearing. But today, really what we saw, I think, was the adjustment to the realization that the Fed might not be cutting rates. 96% chance of cutting rates 1 month ago, as far as the market was concerned, and that dropped actually to 47% at one point today, and it ended up at 52%. So big drop from where it was a month ago. And what happens is, the market is expecting these rate cuts, and 8 out of 10 times after rate cuts, the market goes up 12 months later. So the market starts to, go up in anticipation of those rate cuts. And then if that anticipation dries up and don't have a cut, then the market's got to readjust back down somewhat. So, right now we still don't know. Obviously, the meeting's in December, but you're getting a lot of different comments from Fed governors, basically trying to say, hey, it's not a foregone conclusion that we're going to cut rates, and those type of things. And that was what the market was kind of feeling like earlier as far as that goes. Now, the Fed would be cutting rates to support the jobs market. But the job market is kind of weird right now. You got to question whether or not rate cuts would really help the job market, because this is such a different environment. We just had, in October, we had 153,000 people laid off, which is the highest 1 month layoff in the last 22 years. And so one of the things that happens there is that, the Fed would come in and say, hey, we want to, help the job market by cutting rates. But if you look at why people are losing their jobs, it's because companies are having to cut back on their expenses, for a couple of reasons. Number one, they might be paying tariffs and have to, let people go in order to absorb some of those. They don't have to pass all that cost to consumers. They might have a situation where they are dealing with the AI spend. So if they're in that market and trying to capture some of that, they need to spend a lot of money and still produce some good earnings come the end of the quarter. So sometimes you cut back on labor to do that, as far as that goes. So, this is a really interesting time frame for these companies. And I'm not sure that if we, cut interest rates, that you would be able to have people, keep those people on when they're still trying to deal with these other issues that are out there. The tariff situation, I've heard that the Supreme Court could even rule this week, but normally, and I guess in a normal scenario, would at least be by the end of the year. I would think if they're going to rule against it, sooner better than later, because there is a refund that needs to be done. Again, I've been kind of trying to figure out what would happen if the Supreme Court did come through with this, and it's really hard to tell. My best guess is that we probably drop up front, just because of the fear of the refunds. But I think the realization is that the refunds can be stretched out quite a bit, as they have been in the past. So they're not going to have to pay back, all this money immediately. I'm sure that'll be the desire for the people that paid it, but I bet you it doesn't happen right away. And then the market can kind of settle down and then realize, hey, we don't have these tariffs on these companies. That might be short-lived, because the other tariffs can come in on these line item areas and what have you too. So we can talk about that at some point. But nonetheless, that's kind of what was happening today. I think that it's really interesting to see, as it is pretty much every day for the stock market at these points in time, as to see what's happening. So you can join me tomorrow if you want to ask some questions. That's a great opportunity to ask them live. We do a live Talk Money with Tom show on YouTube at 12:15. If you want to join us and ask any questions, I do a summary for what I saw happening in the market at the beginning, and then we do a Q&A after that. So look forward to seeing you then. Thank you very much.